go.
This being thus laid, it pleased the governor to have a public affront where the prisoner, Stephen Hopkins, is now a prisoner, was brought forth in manacles, he being only found at this time worthy to satisfy the punishment of his offense with the sacrifice of his life.
Sacrifice of his life.
So he's been sentenced to death. Wow. I think I might have a much larger connection to Bermuda than I ever thought. My grandmother spent time here, and I know that my 11th times great-grandfather, Stephen Hopkins, was on a ship called the Sea Venture and was shipwrecked and ended up here in Bermuda. What went wrong? What went wrong?
They were within perhaps a week of reaching Jamestown. They basically sailed into a hurricane. 20, 30-foot waves, 100, 120 knot winds, and they were shot blind more than 600 miles out to where Bermuda was.
That's incredible.
You know, they ran the Sea Venture onto some rocks to keep it from completely sinking.
My God. And what was here on this island at that time? What existed?
They quickly discovered the island was really lush because humans didn't live there. The reefs were abounding with fish, there were lots of birds, there were edible plants. But everybody in Virginia had considered them lost in the hurricane.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Sea Venture crew waits for about 2-3 months, and by November, they all realize no help is coming. It's up to them to get off the island on their own.
And what happened?
So this is a very detailed eyewitness account of one of the people on board the Sea Venture.
Oh, I'll be right there. A true repertory of the wreck and redemption of Sir Thomas Gates Knight. Who's Sir Thomas Gates Knight?
Sir Thomas Gates was the governor designate for Virginia, who was with Stephen Hopkins shipwrecked in Bermuda on the way to Jamestown.
So what did they do when they came? They build huts or?
Gates was very much committed to completing the voyage. Gates got everybody divided into teams, working to build a replacement vessel to get off Bermuda. But Jamestown was only 2 years old at that point, and it had struggled. And some of the sailors here in Bermuda had visited Virginia before, and they started to question whether the Sea Venture Company should continue on to Jamestown rather than just simply stay in Bermuda.
I wonder where Stephen Hopkins fell in that camp. All right, let's see what happens. Mutinous conceptions. Mutiny? Oh, Lord. Others began to shake the foundation of our quiet safety, and therein did one Stephen Hopkins commence the first act or overture. A fellow who had much knowledge in the scriptures, whom our minister therefore chose to be his clerk. So the minister who chose my ancestor, Stephen Hopkins, to be his clerk.
It's a public and prestigious appointment, sort of like a deacon or a support, somebody who read Psalms. So Hopkins was somebody people would have listened to.
He alleged substantial arguments that it was no breach of honesty, conscience, nor religion to decline from the obedience of the governor,
Sir Thomas Gates.
Sir Thomas Gates, since the authority ceased when the wreck was committed, and with it they were all then freed from the government of any man. It's like, hey, there's no authority on this island. Nobody has a rule on this island. This island is not England anymore. You're not the boss of me.
But actually, Gates realizes he's vulnerable to this.
Yeah.
Hopkins has a good case.
Yeah.
This is a radical concept. He's questioning the nature of authority, why Sir Thomas Gates is in charge.
I kind of like him for that. I like Mr. Stephen Hopkins for that. And how old is Stephen Hopkins at this point? He's like
He's about 28 years old.
My God. It's an amazing moment for him to have stood up to authority.
But what Hopkins has said is too dangerous to let go.
This being thus laid, it pleased the governor to have a public affront where the prisoner, Stephen Hopkins, is now a prisoner, was brought forth in manacles, he being only found at this time worthy to satisfy the punishment of his offense with the sacrifice of his life.
Sacrifice of his life.
So he's been sentenced to death. Wow. My 11th times great-grandfather has been sentenced to death.
Sentenced to death.
But I know he doesn't die. But so penitent he was, all the better sort of the company went unto our governor and never left him until we had got his pardon. Wow. So they all liked him so much as a man and believed in him. They pleaded for his life and said, you must not kill this man. That says what kind of man he was, that he garnered that much love and admiration. So do they all go back then to finishing, mending the ship or building a new ship?
They stripped the Sea Venture.
They stripped
and
that.
They built two small escape vessels. The Deliverance, the larger, and a smaller one, the Patience. And in May 1610, they leave Bermuda and they sail to complete their voyage to Jamestown.
Not even a whole year here.
Yep. And these 10 months in Bermuda basically lead to England's colonization of Bermuda in 1612. And it's been lived in and colonized ever since.
Michael, I'm assuming the next place I need to go is Jamestown, Virginia.
Yes, his life and adventures continue there.
Michael, thank you so much. I so appreciate everything that you told me. I'm pretty certain that Sippy didn't know anything about this connection to Bermuda. Stephen was a bit of a rebel to stand up to Gates, and I think she would have loved that story. I can't even believe what Stephen Hopkins went through on this island that we're standing on. All the times he's escaped death, 2 times so far, and we're not even to America. It's mind-blowing.